You know, for the past few days, I've been trying to motivate myself to make another of these response videos. However, I could not motivate myself to properly record a reaction to that video. And it seems to be because most of the time whenever I record these reactions, it's because what I'm watching incenses me so much that I have to say something. And that was my reaction to this video. And so this is the video we're going to be responding to today. We're going to be responding to Markiplier. Now, I like Markiplier at the best of times. It's honestly no lie that I've been having his videos playing in the background while I've been working on other stuff for hours on end some days. And what I really hate to see is when he decides to step out and make a public statement about a pressing political issue. Like he decided one day, we're gonna talk about guns.
Hey guys, I wanted to make a video that's a little out of the norm from what I usually do. This is in relation to the Stoneman Douglas shootings, and usually I stay out of anything that has to do with politics or religion or anything of the above. Some of my fans have been affected by this. I have an extensive background and experience with guns. I've gone to the shooting range many times. I've shot all kinds of guns. I don't think people should be able to access assault rifles. Assault rifles exist solely to kill people. And you could say the same thing about all guns, but assault rifles especially, we need to ban assault rifles. Why not do everything in our power to try to protect our kids?
And then just a couple weeks ago, we has to talk about the fucking coronavirus.
Today, I want to talk about coronavirus. I am not a medical professional. I am also not an authority on the disease, but I'm making this video because I see a lot of misinformation, misunderstandings. I'm not here to talk about policy. I would love for us all to take these preventative measures, and it turns out that this is just overblown nonsense. It's not. The reality is coronavirus is very deadly, and that is why we need to do everything in our power to make sure that we slow the spread of the disease.
Like, you look at all those thumbnails, they're the most overblown pieces of shit thumbnails that tell you virtually nothing about what the fucking video is most of the time. And then in the middle of all that, it's like the problem we need to confront. We need to talk about George Floyd. When I first saw this video, I didn't click on it because I knew it was going to be bad and I didn't want to watch it. But a couple minutes ago, out of impulse, I clicked on it.
Today I'm going to be talking about a very serious subject that you probably already know about. A few days ago, a man by the name of George Floyd was murdered by a police officer while he was placed under arrest. The circumstances of his arrest are irrelevant. The man is dead.
That's untrue. Bear in mind, this person has not been convicted of murder. They've been charged with murder. That's not to say he didn't murder the guy. At the very least, it's manslaughter. Guy didn't need to die. Guy died unnecessarily. If you watch the video, you can see the guy improperly applying a restraining technique well after the dude's not resisting. That's wrong. You're not supposed to do that. That's against virtually every police department policy you can find. But don't straight up make broad sweeping statements that it doesn't matter the circumstances in which someone gets killed, because it does matter. If someone dies in a shootout and the fuckers were shooting at the police, then when the police fire back and they fucking die, then clearly the context matters, because the intent was to fucking stop a shooting!
And this sort of situation disproportionately affects a certain percentage of the population.
No, it doesn't. No, it fucking doesn't. And this is the thing that this enrages me. What this incident disproportionately affected was the guy who died! And only the man who died! With the possible exception of the officer who is now charged with murder and his co-workers who are now fired from their jobs. Beyond the people who were involved in the fucking altercation, it affects nobody else. At least disproportionately. Like, the people at the end of the day who are going to prosecute these people are going to prosecute somebody else at the end of the day. But no one's complaining about the extra work we're giving attorneys and prosecutors. Nobody gives a shit. It's not an issue. You're not making that the issue. What you're making the issue is that this is a racial thing. Even though there's literally no fucking evidence for it. There's zero fucking evidence on the table for anybody to consume whatsoever fucking ever prove me the fuck wrong that this was racially motivated. You perpetuating this fucking myth that this is a regular thing, giving validation to the same fucking people who are going through that city right now and destroying small businesses, assaulting people, causing so much fucking damage in the middle of a fucking pandemic where it's already a fucking economic recession pisses me the fuck off.
George Floyd was an African American man.
Doesn't matter! Makes zero fucking difference! Makes absolutely no fucking difference! You injecting race into this makes you a fucking racist!
And there's a long, storied history of African American men and women being murdered or abused while being placed under arrest.
As well as fucking white guys and white women! And there are badge cam videos of both! I can find badge cam video of every possible race you can imagine getting gunned down by the police in one circumstance or another. But it doesn't even matter what the circumstances are because it doesn't matter the context, does it, Markiplier?
The circumstances of his arrest are irrelevant.
What's going on today?
I have a gun.
Put it down.
Back up.
Put it down.
This is just a thing that happens on occasion. And overwhelmingly, those people lose their fucking jobs. This guy lost his fucking job immediately. I know people are going to say, like, this guy's coworkers are equally guilty, but they have to protect them from the crowd that's surrounding them. And if you watch the goddamn 10-minute video, you can see that the cops have to form a perimeter in order to keep people away.
Don't touch him.
Don't touch
I got
me.
this all on camera. Watch out.
Do not touch me again.
Now, again, that's not saying they shouldn't have intervened. That's not saying they shouldn't have said, stop, or you're going to kill him. It is to say that there is still a precedent for them to do what they did in that video. The other officers could have acted differently. They should have acted differently. Even if directives under their department said they shouldn't have acted differently, it would have been the moral thing to do to disobey those directives and do the right thing. That said, I put way more fucking moral emphasis on perpetrators of a crime as opposed to the people who stood by and did nothing.
And I think, I hate the term I think. The last thing I want to do is to try to inject my opinion into a situation that neither deserves it or needs it.
It's what you're fucking doing. Just shut the fuck up then and don't upload this stupid fucking video.
But I think that this is a very human reaction to systemic injustice.
It's not systemic injustice. It's not. It's one person in power abusing their power. You do not have a preponderance of evidence to suggest that this is systemic. You have an anecdote. A single anecdote. And even if you pulled up killedbypolice.com or .net or whatever fucking website it is, and you look through the individual articles, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I totally forget. You don't care about context.
The circumstances of his arrest are irrelevant.
So, the final tally. We have 1 accidental death, 1 volcano, which police should have shot, 1 WTF, that was the guy who pointed a gun at officers but was tased and died, 15 with not enough info, 3 questionable, where we're kind of like, I don't know, that may not have shot them. We didn't find any completely not justified. That's weird. 75 justifiable deaths caused by police in April of 2018.
And racism that has been pervading our country for the past 50, 100, 200 years.
When is it gonna not pervade our country? Like, do you see any aspect in your mind of this decreasing over time? After all, there are black cops working in Minneapolis to quell these fucking protesters, you fucking man-child.
What I observed, those actions from those former 4 officers in no way reflect the values and the vision and the culture that I want to change here with the Minneapolis Police Department.
This is a problem that is deeply rooted.
Prove it! Prove that this is a deeply rooted issue. Because as far as I can tell, the only cultural presence this has is in the narrative you're perpetuating right now. You perpetuating this narrative is what gives credence to these fuckers rampaging through the fucking streets.
In our government and in our communities and in the systems that are supposed to help.
Speaking of those systems that are supposed to help, who is fucking destroying community centers right now?
There's a lot of collateral damage that people should be aware of and think about. This is where people receive their services. This is where people get their groceries. These are where small businesses are.
These are fucking people who live in public housing.
and you got open flames, you got smoke, you got carcinogens, you got all of this shit during the middle of a respiratory fucking pandemic. And who are the people that are going to be most affected by this? It's not going to be the people sitting out in fucking Oakdale.
I am talking about the people who go to a methadone clinic down the goddamn street.
In case you can't tell, I have way more fucking hatred right now towards the people that are destroying their own cities or robbing people, not only of their property, but also of their jobs. The job market was shitty enough as it is, given that the fucking virus provoked all these fucking local governments to do temporary shutdowns, which is super unconstitutional to begin with. But then on top of that, this is a human reaction. Riots? Fucking riots? That's a human reaction. Arson? That's a human reaction. Destroying people's jobs? That's a human reaction. No, that's totally cool, guys. No, I disagree with that, but I completely understand the reaction. I'm empathetic to it. I know where you're coming from, guys. You're empathizing with scumfucks! Evil people!
We got a 2-for-1 rule, nigga. One of ours, 2 of yours. Innocent motherfuckers dying.
Police tell us 77-year-old David Dorn, a retired St. Louis police captain, was found dead outside Lee's Pawn and Jewelry in North St. Louis about 2:30 this morning.
A video from Facebook Live that appears to show the aftermath of his death.
Captain Dorn served on the St. Louis force for 37 years. He retired back in 2007. He was 77 years old.
OG, come on, stay with me, OG. OG, stay with me. What y'all trying to do? Fuck you talking about? Y'all kill this man over some TVs, cuz. What, you gonna pop me? Man, fuck you, nigga. Can we make some sense out of this? Can we make some sense out of this?
And here you are to offer, the reassuring pat on the back of the head to the fuckers swinging the bats and dragging out the ATM machines. I understand where you're coming from. This is a societal, systemic issue. I fucking hate you.
And it is a problem that needs to be rooted out.
I am going to see no shortage of people who are either going like, oh yeah, this was a wrongful death, and yeah, there was some rioting going on, and be really dismissive about it, right? And then there's also going to be the people going like, this is wrong, guys. We need to realize that it goes both ways. We can't fight injustice with injustice. That's wrong. There's that. There's also that. That's unsatisfactory to me. What people need to do is they need to scream in your fucking face so you get the fucking point that this is unacceptable across the board.
I work too hard for this.
I don't even understand nothing. Come on.
It's not right. It's not right. It's not right what y'all doing. I came from the ghetto too. Same as all of you did.
Y'all need to listen.
But you know, y'all mess up my business. And you call it black power. You mad at the white man. Why destroy my business? Why destroy my truck? Why steal my computer? I'm trying to make it. Could you understand that? Can't y'all see it? I'm trying to make it.
And it's always been a big point of mine to try to use my platform responsibly.
This isn't that. This is deeply irresponsible, Markiplier. This is completely an inappropriate and wasteful, if not counterproductive use of your platform. You're spreading this worthless, delusional message to millions of people right now, and it's completely unwarranted. Not only is it unwelcome in terms of who it's coming from, because honestly, I cannot stand to imagine listening to you talk about politics to any respect, but it's irresponsible because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You're just repeating lines that have been fed to you since fucking grade school. Oh, we need Black History Month because it's an issue. We need to talk about Rosa Parks for the umpteenth millionth time because it was a historical issue. There's a historical precedent for this. At what point does it stop becoming a historical precedent? When you stop treating black people as different from white people.
How are we going to get rid of racism and stop talking about it?
And that's not what you're doing in this video. You're doing the opposite of that. You're segregating people. You're saying this issue disproportionately affects a portion of the population, even though it fucking doesn't. And it's your racism and this racism that's perpetuating this stupid fucking shit. Not to mention, it's quote unquote anti-racists who are super opposed to this notion of law enforcement actually doing their goddamn jobs. Oh, we don't want kids to have a criminal record. Oh, you know what that does? You know what the knock-on effect of that is? You know what the logical conclusion of that line of thinking is? It's that, oh, there's no consequences to my actions. Therefore, if I go out and I do a thing and it doesn't affect you can't arrest me. I'm a kid. I'm 16, man.
Now get your handcuffs off me. I'm 17. It doesn't work like that. It does work like that.
I have met 15-year-olds bigger than me, and I'm an adult. Shut the fuck up. You're gonna say that the problem we need to confront is systemic racism. And yet, one of the biggest problems we have right now is shit like this getting in the way of us actually enforcing the laws, which disincentivize their consequence-free behavior. Where if I go out and I fucking roll into the auto zone and I fucking steal shit from it and set the fucker ablaze, that I'm gonna get off scot-free. And I guarantee you, the overwhelming majority of those people did get out of scot-free. The police can't be everywhere at once, but there's also budgetary constraints. We don't want to spend this much. That's not community focused. You know what's not community focused? Giving more budget to the police so they can be properly trained on how not to fucking crush someone's throat in when they're restraining them. I don't know. Just a thought.
To use my platform to steer people in the direction that I feel is right.
It's this cultural fucking stereotype that I'm different from people who have different color of skin because there's a historical precedent for my kind to hate their kind. Why would you absorb that in any capacity? Why would you validate that fucking racist bullshit? Why? Why would you give credence to that? Why would you not stop and ask, why is there only a Black History Month? As if there aren't a butt ton of other fucking cultures in the melting pot we call America. You fucking know this. You're half fucking Korean.
In this case, there is very little gray area to debate about. A man is dead as a result of police brutality, and there was no justice in his death. And this happens over and over and over again.
When black people kill black people, they don't come out and do this crap. The only time they do this crap is when a white person touches them. They're the racists. They are the racists. I am black. I'm not oppressed. I am free.
What about a systemic issue?
Where? You're forcing a rhetoric into your mind, which is not true. The blacks kill blacks in black neighborhoods every single day. I've never seen a Black Lives Matter in those neighborhoods. Even white person kill a black person, Black Lives Matter. Stop the hypocrisy. Nobody takes this seriously.
Oh, clearly, if a black guy died, it's not justified, right? Clearly, if there's a disproportionate population in jail, clearly there's no justification for it. It's not as if there's this, I don't know, cultural norm.
Fuck 12, fuck 12, fuck 12, nigga.
Fuck 12, 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 fuck 12.
Fuck 12, fuck 12, yeah.
Fuck 12, yeah. Fuck 12, yeah. Fuck 12, yeah.
I mean, not to blame the victim here, but did the guy ever need to be on his face in the first place if he wasn't already resisting arrest? Let's be honest for a second here.
Surveillance video captured the moments two officers approached a blue vehicle parked on 38th Street. George Floyd is on the driver's side. A police press release says after he got out, he physically resisted officers.
And it's very easy to remove yourself from the situation, to think that it is so far removed from your life that it will never affect you. But this affects all of us. This is something that is definitive of who we are as a people, who we will be for the future generations. I've always said that I want to leave the world a better place than I found it.
Could you start by not being a fucking race-baiting asshole. Maybe you should start with that, Mark. Maybe you could start with not feeding into this narrative of systemic bigotry, not posting videos to millions of fucking followers, lying to them and telling them that this is a racial issue, or telling them that it disproportionately affects some of them. Like, imagine being lectured by Markiplier that you're black, therefore this issue should disproportionately affect you. Are you fucking kidding me?
When I'm gone, I want the future generations to be able to enjoy peace and prosperity. I want that. But right now, we need to fight these injustices at every turn.
Oh, I really hope this is not going into full-blown riot apologism. I am going to lose my shit.
Because prejudice and injustice and racism runs very deep.
That's literally what I'm criticizing in your video, Mark. This is bold-faced hypocrisy. That's the issue I take with your video right now, because you're doing exactly what you're saying the problem is. And this is my issue with fucking social justice warriors, is because they're perpetuating the exact same shit they're saying is the issue. Black Lives Matter does not want equality between black people and white people. Otherwise, they would not make a movement specifically for only one of those kinds of people. Hey guys, I'm in the middle of editing as I record this. I just wanted to make it eminently clear that I am not exclusively blaming Black Lives Matter for these riots. There is a wealth of evidence showing that Antifa were coordinated agitators. I just want to make it clear because there are racists on both sides of the fence claiming that it is only black people looting or only white people vandalizing. And they're both wrong. It's social justice warriors and the local criminal element which took advantage of the chaos they instigated. Black Lives Matter is merely the legitimate face of the modern social justice movement. It is no less a manifestation of critical theory than Antifa is. Antifa is just more transparently Marxist. Critical theory is all about reinterpreting reality in terms of oppressors and oppressed. Why stop at economics when you can treat black, trans, queer, and female identities as their own proletariat classes and pit them against each other in an endless contest to see who's the biggest victim? The person with the maximum intersection of these identities tops the progressive stack and becomes the next martyr to the kyriarchy. Now, I know a lot of people listening right now have no idea what I just said, but the people who do might be a little pissed at me because their whole ideology depends on being opaque and hard to understand. They don't want me spilling their entire belief system because they prey on people too stupid to read past a headline. Black Lives Matter? Pfft, yeah, of course. Anti-fascist? Pfft, consider me one of them. Bottom line, they're all socialists exploiting a tragedy. At the end of the day, Mark, the ideal is egalitarianism, and that's not what this is, and that's not what you're advocating for.
And I think that the discontent is a result of that anger, of the deep-seated anger, of continually and repeatedly being ignored.
In what way have people been ignored, genuinely? Like, if you want to talk about people being ignored in, like, the electoral system, by all means, bitch about the bipartisan electoral system in America. Talk about how the Electoral College is bullshit. Please. There is a shortage of people who are actually in favor of electoral reform. If you want there to be representation by the people and for people not to be ignored, electoral reform. If you don't like being ignored, address that. But you can't say that there's systemic racism and that this is a national problem when we just had a motherfucking president who was black for 8 fucking years. At what point after that point do we stop having systemic racism? Like, I don't want to say unfalsifiable, but it's like falsifiability when you suppose that there's a precedent for a thing, but you do not presuppose conditions under which there is not a precedent for that thing. Like, what are the preconditions for them to be systemic racism, Mark? Because apparently this meets it, and all this is an anecdotal incident in which a police officer wrongfully killed somebody in custody. It happens. It's happened many times before. It doesn't happen all the time. It happens sometimes, and it doesn't always happen to the same demographic of people. So what the fuck?
Martin Luther King once said that riots are the language of the unheard.
I wish you could see what I'm seeing, people. I wish you could be here with me. Oh, baby. Bring it on!
So, this has launched into full-blown riot apologism. Well, let me add some context. Mark, let's add some context to that quote.
Many, in moments of anger, Many in moments of deep bitterness engage in riots. And let me say, as I've always said, and I will always continue to say, that riots are socially destructive and self-defeating. I'm still convinced that non-violence is the most potent weapon available to oppress people in their struggle for freedom and justice. So I will continue to condemn riots and continue to say to my brothers and sisters that this is not the way. Continue to affirm that there is another way. But at the same time, it is as necessary for me to be as vigorous in condemning the conditions which cause persons to feel that they must engage in riotous activities as it is for me to condemn riots. I think America must see that riots do not develop out of thin air. Certain conditions continue to exist in our society, which must be condemned as vigorously as we condemn riots. But in the final analysis, a riot is the language of the unheard.
When people are ignored for so long, they only have so many options to express their rage.
How are they being ignored? Present one reason. You won't present one reason because you never do. That's not the format of these videos. These videos exist purely for you to fucking spew platitudes out of your mouth and offer fucking nothing of substance. No logical justifications, no rational defenses, no nothing. This is just for you to pontificate on something you have no fucking business pontificating on.
I hope that we can live in a world where racism and prejudice are in the past, but the realist in me knows that we need to fight it at every turn, and we need to confront it, and we need to challenge it, and we need to defeat it.
There are so many people who can't go to work right now. There are so many people, part of this fucking victim class, Markiplier, that can't go to work specifically because of the riots you're defending in this video. That is so ass backwards.
In the description, I'm going to leave a link to a charity, an organization called Campaign Zero. They are dedicated to ending police violence.
Campaign Zero. I would love to see what the fuck this shit is. End broken windows policing. Ain't that fucking ironic? Limit use of force. It's already limited. I made a whole video about that. Independently investigate and prosecute. As opposed to what? Having a standardized state-based investigation and prosecution? Community representation. That's called voting. Body cams film the police. Surveillance is legal, and police officers are increasingly required to wear their badge cams. So this is already a thing. Training. Training's already a thing.
Implicit bias training? Has it worked?
No.
End for-profit policing. Well, there's definitely a case to be made for that. Talk about civil forfeiture and all that shit. That's fine. Demilitarization. Problem. More than 1,000 people are killed by police every year in America. And criminal with a gun is over a third of instances in which people were supposedly killed by police. 22% of cases are criminals with no guns. Okay, well what about knives? Traffic vehicle with no gun. Oh, that's only 6%. Broken windows. The fuck does that mean? 10% of people are killed because of broken windows. Like, what the fuck am I supposed to interpret from that shit? Police killed nearly 100 people on average each month in 2015. This must stop. That's an assertion. You have no basis and provided no basis for why that these were wrongful deaths. We can live in an America where police do not kill people. Police in England, Germany, Australia, Japan, even cities like okay, that still happens, and police get killed in those countries. And not only that, these countries do not have a Second Amendment, so that they're liable to encounter people with guns, right? Okay, so the people on this website are fucking retarded, and that's the fucking charity you want me to give money to.
Or at the very least, ensure that justice is always served.
As if justice can't be served by killing someone. Like, that website acts as though anyone dying as a result of police conduct is actually an injustice. Are you goddamn stupid? Not everyone deserves to live Markiplier. There's an awful lot of people doing an awful lot of hateful, despicable, unforgivable shit right now in the name of the unheard, as you say, who probably don't deserve the lives they got.
There are many ways that you can help, even at the most basic of just letting people know that this is not okay.
Don't worry, guys. I'm with you. We can all say that this is not okay. Hashtag icantbreathe. You're such a tool.
You can make a contribution to a charity, or you can spread the message about it and demand change be made from it.
You taking Martin Luther King Jr.'s words, ripping them out of context, saying within the same video that context doesn't matter, and then using them to push a narrative of racism is honestly pretty disgusting.
We are all in this together, whether we like it or not. We're all part of the same country. We're all part of the same world.
There's a very specific Markiplier clip that I can think of that would fit really great right about now.
Black Lives Matter.
Play the clip.
You shut the fuck up. You shut the fuck up. I hope you die in a fire. Shut the fuck up.
And right now, we need to fight this injustice.
I want to die.
Destroying property which can be replaced is not violence.
So when y'all go out there and talk about some Black Lives Matter, this is what you're dying for. This is what you're fighting for, dumbasses.